Hi everyone, this is Frank Demore with The Last Chronicles of Planet Earth. This is my book. It's a documentary on Bible prophecy and current events. And when you go to my website, you're going to see the pictures like this, the front and the back cover of my book. Go to www.demoreministry.com. And when you're there, right below the cover of my books, you'll be able to see the link that will take you directly to my book, the documentary. It's taken me 33 years of my life to get all the information, the evidence, and the proof that all prophecy is being fulfilled. Now, one of the prophecies that is underway has to do with the Antichrist coming in the last days and taking control of the entire planet. And he is going to be able to have powers like no man has ever had before on the face of this earth, because he will be incarnate of Satan himself. And what will happen is, when the United States of America falls and collapses, this is going to cause a ripple effect throughout the world, and it's going to cause a major worldwide crisis. We've seen the beginnings of the crisis, not only affecting the United States when the housing debacle took place about a year and a half ago, but we've already seen it to escalate into Europe, where 5 or 6 different nations now are on the verge of bankruptcy that are in the European Union. But what I want to show you, that in the book of Daniel, Daniel does not mention the United States at all. And there's a good reason for that, because the United States is not a world dominant power. We know that something has to happen to the United States, because obviously they're supposed to be the world leader, and they've been declining very rapidly, I must say, in the last couple of years, to the point where many of the leaders around the world are trying to get rid of the dollar, get rid of it completely, and go into a different reserve currency. And I've posted many articles about that before. But what I want to show you here is one of the reasons why possibly that Daniel never even wrote about it, and God never showed Daniel anything about it, is because the United States would collapse before and give the rise of the Antichrist, or help give the rise of the Antichrist during the last days. And one of the things I've been telling you since even before the recession, if you go back and read my previous post, or you read what I wrote in my book, I told you there that hundreds of thousands of Americans would continually to get laid off. And even before they mentioned the fact that there was a recession, the United States government said that there's a recession, that I told you, watch for the language of a depression, because that's where this nation is going. I mean, obviously they have over $14 trillion in debt which cannot be paid, and they're just teetering back and forth right now of collapsing. But the news now that I'm showing you, more evidence of the decline of America. The article came out today, and when you scroll down after you watch my video at my website, and if you are at my website right now, then just scroll down and you'll see this article telling us what happened just recently and exactly what I said to look for. I quote, "The U.S. employment fell a second straight month in July as more temporary census jobs ended, while private hiring rose less than expected, pointing to an anemic economic recovery. Non-farm payrolls fell 131,000 people. The Labor Department said on Friday, as temporary jobs to conduct the decennial crisis dropped by 143,000. Private employment, considered a better gauge of the labor market health, rose 71,000 after increasing 31,000 in June. In addition, the government released payrolls for May and June to show 97,000 fewer jobs than previously reported." Now, in many of my articles and in my book, I tell you that the government is giving you information that is not accurate, and then they always have to come back and give you the true facts when they're pointed out. And this is the exact same thing that we're seeing in this article. It's not good news for the United States and what was supposed to have been an increasing economy. It's not happening. Also on Rutgers, Friday employment report provided an odd mix of unpleasant surprises and add another question mark to the pace of the economic recovery. Companies cut back on temporary hires, a segment normally considered a harbinger for future hiring. Government jobs dried up much faster than anticipated, and not just because it saw the end of the short-term census jobs. The jobs rate held steady at 9.5%, defying expectations on a slight increase, but that was only because thousands more people dropped out of the labor force. Temporary jobs dropped 5,600, reversing a streak of strong gains that economics had reviewed as hopeful sign for the hiring would pick up. Normally, companies load up on temps at the beginning of a recovery when they are waiting for conformation of the growth and gaining momentum. This recovery has been unusual in the temporary hiring, did not herald a jump in private hiring. Private hiring totaled a lackluster 71,000 in July and below expectations for 90,000 in a Rutgers poll. June's tally was revised down to just 31,000 from the initial reported 83,000. So again, the number of jobs that were being reported, they almost dropped as 50,000. So you have to look at what's happening. Now you can get a real gauge by talking to the people that you know. Just look at how many people you know have lost their jobs, and you may be one of those people who lost your jobs and you're looking for jobs. Now I hate to be a bearer of bad news, but I know what's going to happen. And I know based solely on what the Word of God says, it isn't the United States who is going to be the last ruling power. The United States will have nothing to do with that because they're going to be reduced probably to a third world country when their economy falls flat on their face. And believe me, you will start to see in the very near future hyperinflation where your money is not going to buy you very much at all. Like, for example, in Zimbabwe, you're paying $1 million for a loaf of bread. And if you think that that can't happen in one of the richest countries in the world, we're already starting to see signs that it is coming. Now, also in today's news, we found out that the stock market also dropped. U.S. stock tumbled, pairing a weekly advance of the Standard & Poor's 500 index after weaker than forecast growth in company payrolls added to evidence of the economic recovery is slowing. Now, this is only a gauge of what's going to happen in the future, because when you start to see more hundreds of thousands of people laid off from their jobs, and you start to see that people are not finding jobs. We have people that have been looking for jobs for 2 years. This is unheard of, unless you compare it to the first depression. But in the near future, when more of these people, thousands, hundreds of thousands, lose their job, Wall Street's not going to be able to maintain itself. The stocks will drop at the time that the dollar is increasing, and at the same time that many of the leaders around the world are trying to get rid of the dollar, because they know, believe me people, they know what's going to happen with the American dollar, and they're getting prepared for it. My question is, are you getting prepared for it? This has also everything to do with the rise of the Antichrist, because when America falls on its face, somebody's going to have to come back and take control of the world in chaos. And believe me, that will be the man that Jesus Christ said that he would cause you that you couldn't buy or sell anything. He's going to X you out of the global market unless you do exactly what he says. And I'm telling you, if you're left behind, you better not take that mark of the beast, because Jesus tells us you will end up in hell, where there's a lake of fire burning forever and ever. Now, you may think that that is a joke. Don't tempt God. Receive his salvation and come to him freely now while you can, before the church is raptured. God bless.